music. Music, music, music. There, we'll stop the music. Good evening. It is Kathy Beatty. It is Friday night, and so I'm stepping into your life to give you a few words of encouragement, of hope, and hopefully some direction as well as you go through the trauma of divorce, or if you have finished going through the trauma of divorce, you're still living out the trauma. It doesn't end the day that the judgment is final. It continues on, and it's something that has to be dealt with. And so that's what I try to do, is to be of help to you and encouragement, because you are going to make it through this. You absolutely are. I know the times can be so overwhelming and you don't feel like that, but I promise you, having worked with hundreds and hundreds of men and women over the past 21 years in support group, also being a divorce coach and a domestic mediator, I have seen people flourish after divorce. And if they have come from a toxic relationship, there is so much opportunity for you to flourish. So I have a topic tonight that is very important, and I want to share a couple of ideas for you. You probably saw the ticker there. It said, discovering how codependent you are going through divorce. This is a realization that many people come to as they go through the divorce. And it is quite the awakening, and adds to the trauma of what they're going through. It's like, man, I didn't realize how codependent I was. I thought I was trying to make him or her happy. I thought I was doing the right thing. I committed my life and years and decades to doing the right thing with my spouse. And then now that I am stepping away from it, which is true of so much of divorce, the further you get away from it, the more clarity you get of the relationship and many other things as well. So topic tonight is really, really important. What if you're discovering that I am codependent in this marriage and in life in general? Well, first, let's talk about what is the definition of a codependent, because that's important to know. Definition. A codependent person is someone in an unhealthy, one-sided relationship who excessively sacrifices their own needs to care for, enable, important word, or control another person. It is a learned dysfunctional behavioral pattern marked by lack of boundaries, emotional dependency, and intense people pleasing. Well, that's a big definition. What it means basically in common terms is we allow ourselves to become invisible in the relationship, and we focus solely on taking care of the other person. The other person is more important than we are. Whether they are unhappy all the time and you have to prop them up, or they are angry all the time and you have to satisfy them, or whatever ways you are, let's look at this again. A one-sided relationship who sacrifices their own needs. Now, there is a point to where giving in a marriage, it should be mutual sacrificing for each other, correct? But in an unhealthy, and especially an abusive relationship, you have one person who is the majority of the time, I won't say all the time, but the majority of the time giving to the other person to make the other person happy. And that could be if they have an addiction, or they're narcissistic or whatever. You may find yourself, you've surrendered yourself to make the other person happy, to try to appease the other person, not even to make them happy, just so they won't be angry or they won't be upset. So let's talk about that tonight. And I love my points here because I think they're just so valid. Discovering this about ourselves is the first step to healing. So I don't want you to be angry at yourself right now or shame yourself right now, because discovering this is actually a gift to you. Wow. I have been codependent in this relationship. I've become invisible. The other person was the only person that mattered and was important. Discovering that is our first step of healing and change. You cannot heal and you cannot change from something you don't identify and recognize. And then I use this a lot in my groups. Truth is always our friend. Always. Even the bad stuff, it's always our friend. Because then we know how to react to it. And we know how to manage it. So keep that in mind. The hard truth. Maybe you were codependent. But you realize that now. And that is a gift to you and part of your healing. Shame will only help the enemy. It's only going to help the enemy. And I don't necessarily mean your soon-to-be former spouse or maybe your former spouse. I mean the spiritual enemy, the one that wants to keep you down and oppressed. So shame is only helping the enemy, and truth is always our friend. God wants us to live in truth, grace and truth. Grace and truth, that's what Jesus taught. He wants us in both of those. And truth is always, always our friend. So discovering that, it's like, okay, that was a gift. It's one heck of a gift. It feels like a kick in the gut instead. But from that, here we go. I want you to challenge yourself, and this is not going to be easy. You're not used to this. Your brain is wired to be codependent, to sacrifice self, to give over to another person. I want you to challenge yourself to say no. Not just to say no, but to say no without emotion, explanation, or apology. Please hear this. Challenge yourself to say no without emotion, explanation, or apology. Do you know what that's going to do? That's going to empower you. Because you are going to get to the point to where you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to say the reason that you're saying no. You don't have to scream it. You don't have to plead it. You simply say no. It doesn't work for me. Without emotion, explanation, or apology. I'm so sorry, but I can't. No. That does not work for me. I'm sorry, that does not work for me. And here's another challenge, and maybe I should have even made this another point. Make a journal or a scorecard for the times that you say no and stand up for yourself. You could even put 2 columns. The times you say no, the times you say that you are standing up for yourself. So I wanted to look at some text just in case my sound was not coming through. So challenge yourself to say no without emotion, explanation, or apology, and then make a journal. Even if it's just a card, a little index card, big index card, whatever. And write down the times that you said no. I said no to my mother about running her all over town. I stood up for myself because I defended what someone said against me. I don't know. You know, because this is your life. Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you need to start exploring what are the ways that I don't say, the places I don't say no, and where are the times that I don't stand up for myself. Identify those and then do your scorecard and start keeping track. And then pat yourself on the back when you do it. Not that you ever want to be more important than anyone else, but you want to come up to the level of everyone else because you matter too. You matter too. So I have some incredible Bible verses here that are just so helpful. And many of us have a misconception of how God wants us to live. Yes, there are times for sacrifice, but yes, there are times for us to stand up for ourselves, to be strong and empowered by the truth of the gospel, and just to be able to be autonomous, to be an individual, to have a safe boundary. Okay, Bible verses. I love these. They just work so well. Okay. Above all else, Proverbs 4:23. I've quoted this before. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. And this verse, this was just a comment as I looked up this verse that I thought was really good. This verse emphasizes protecting one's inner life and emotional well-being. Above all else, guard your heart. It's important. Your heart is important. Another verse, all you need to say is a simple yes or no. Beyond this comes from the evil one. What does that mean? That's a really good verse to study. What does that mean, that anything else beyond that comes from the evil one? Maybe it just gives opportunity for the evil one to, for you to lose your power, or for you to lose yourself. But it's so empowering when you can say yes or no and leave it at that without explanation, emotion, or apology. I love this one. Proverbs again. If you're not familiar with the Bible, there are two areas that I love it all. But Proverbs is the book of wisdom. There's so much wisdom in the book of Proverbs. The book of Psalms is a place of understanding, a place of lamenting, a place of articulating what we're going through, the grieving, the bewilderment, the questioning that we have. But the book of Proverbs is just so full of wisdom. Whoever has no rule over his own spirit is like a city broken down without walls. Now, it's hard for us to understand the real depth of that verse because we don't live in cities with walls. But in the days that this was written, the walls were built as protection for the cities. If you didn't have walls around the city, then another country could come and impose and take over your country. Great analogy for us. Whoever has no rule over his own spirit is like a city broken down without walls. You are to have a rule over your own spirit. And that means the ability for choice, the ability to say no, the ability to say yes. I hope this all makes sense. Codependency is really, really an interesting topic for many reasons. One of them is because we have to ask ourselves the questions, where did I learn to be codependent? When did I learn that I don't count and I don't matter? What really matters is that I make everyone else happy. Where did I learn that? That's an interesting study to look back on. Where did I learn this? And how long have I carried this into how many relationships? I mean, everybody likes me because I'm such a people pleaser. But nobody knows the real me. And nobody cares to know the real me because I'm hanging out with people who all they care about is that I please them. It is time, beautiful friend, to become real, to live in your own skin, to take a stand, to rule your own spirit. Take control. It is not selfish, it is healthy to take control of your own spirit. Let me just say these points one more time. The definition, I explained it. You can look it up on Google. That's what I did, actually. There's several other topics or several other definitions, and that's fine. You can look at it. So understand the definition. What does it mean that I'm codependent? Or is that just a label? What does it really mean? Discovering this about ourselves is a beginning step. It's a good thing. It's a gift. Truth is always our friend. Shame only helps the enemy. Challenge yourself to learn to say no without emotion, explanation, or apology. Make a journal or scorecard for the times you say no and the times you stand up for yourself. And above all else, guard your heart. Guard your heart. I hope this has been of help. Hey, if you have not connected with me on a support group, I just started last week a new one, a new 10-week session. There is still room for you. So connect with me for a registration form. Let's get this healing started. This is Kathy Beatty with Divorce Support Anonymous, walking with you every step of the way through the trauma and after the trauma of divorce. Have a good evening.